What did the mother buffalo say to her son before he left? Bye, son. Hello and welcome to Married to Autism. Reactions. There's a lot of talk in the circles of us Cassandra sisters, those who are married to people on the spectrum, where other people don't believe what we're going through is what we say we're going through, or it is what it is. We're not believed. They can't understand it. You get the picture. So reactions. I've had a few in my time, and they've kind of been varied. I've had people who believe what I'm going through and cannot for the life of them understand why I stay. And they are constantly saying, you need to get out, you need to get out, you need to leave, you need to leave, you need to get out. That being said, those people are not there for me when I leave. They're not a support network. They're not there for me when I need them. So I kind of take their you need to leave with a grain of salt. It would be different if they were a really great support network and they were saying you need to leave, I've got you, but they kind of don't. So that's one reaction I have. People who believe what I'm going through, but they just don't understand why I stay. Then I've got other people who cannot possibly fathom that he is how I say he is. They just think I'm exaggerating, I'm being negative. He's a good guy, what are you talking about? I've met him and we're talking about the same person. He's really sweet, he's really lovely. You're just really negative, etc., etc. Then I've got other people who you try to explain it to them and they're like, oh, all men are like that. They're not. Is your husband like that? Oh, well, no, not really. Who simply cannot fathom what it is you're trying to explain to them. When you explain to them that, I don't know, you go on a date and he's negative about the whole date and he's critiquing you as you drive, and so by the time you come home you're like, what was the point of this date? They just can't relate. They look at you like you just grew two heads and you're from Mars, and what are you talking about? They can't get or understand the depth or the gravity of the situation. Or they think that was just that one time you were driving along, you know? He's not like that all the time. Because in their world, potentially in their world, their partner is probably a little bit off now and again, but for the most part, they really connect, they gel, you know? So they can't fathom a situation where you're not gelling with your partner at all whatsoever. And so when you start to talk about your situation, they'll fob you off. They'll be like, all men are like that. That's just the masculine thing to do. Men are very quiet and withdrawn. Men don't talk much. Men are not very affectionate. Men are from Mars. Women are from Venus. All that kind of BS Psych 101 stuff that just gets circulated around and everybody just keeps throwing it at you every second because they're just repeating what they've heard. And then there's the people who don't want to know. You start to open up and they'll cut you off before you've even finished a sentence. They just cut you off at the knees and change the subject. They have no interest in knowing what it is that you're going through, or assisting you, or helping, or being a good friend in any way, shape or form. So they're the kind of reactions that I've gotten, and I would assume that these reactions are fairly common. And I might even go so far as to say that I think that the first reaction might come from close family and friends. They believe you and they don't understand why you're putting yourself through it. And the other reactions where they'll say, all men are like that, blah, 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 they're kind of acquaintances, people who sort of are in your outer circle. The ones who are in denial, they're usually his family and friends. I say his because my partner is male. You may have a wife who's on the spectrum and it might be her friends who are doing that, right? So in my case, it's his friends who are in denial. We know him. You can't possibly be talking about the same guy that we know. And truth is, they don't know him as well as they think they do because they don't live with him and they're not in a relationship with him with those expectations of what a relationship is going to bring to the table. And the ones who have fobbed me off where they don't want to hear about it, they're friends who are not really close or good friends. Because, well, put it this way, as soon as they kind of fob me off when I'm trying to speak to them about something, I would probably write them off as a friend, because if I can't even talk to you about what's going on in my world, what are we doing? you know? And in saying that, I mean, I have talked to numerous people about my situation, especially before I knew I was on the spectrum and I was really seeking advice. And I feel embarrassed to think about the things that I talk to these people about. I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd been more quiet. I wish it hadn't been that girl. I was always whinging and moaning and trying to figure out my husband and talking to everybody and anybody because I was seeking answers. Because they didn't know that. They're just like, who is this person dumping all of her emotional shit on me, right? Like, what is this person doing? Go away, bug, you're annoying me with your pessimism and negativeness, and who knows what they were thinking. But they're running the other direction. Either way, they're like, well, this is way too much, see you later, I'm out of here. So, you know, it is embarrassing about that. Also, if I think of my family and friends, I feel bad for them because not every single time something happened, but quite often, maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, definitely several times a month, I would call them, sometimes in tears, sometimes out of anger and frustration, just telling them the latest funk that had just taken place and what the hell is going on. And also just needing to vent because I didn't have anyone to work it out or talk it with because I couldn't work it out with him. There was no going up to him and going, let's sort this situation out. What just happened then? Why are you being this way? What's going on? He was running. We've had some sort of fallout, whatever. He's gone. He's in another room, listening to telly, trying to switch his brain off, right? And so I'm on my phones with my family and friends going, help! I'm feeling really frustrated, feeling really sad, right? Point being, that would have annoyed them exponentially, I'm sure. They would have been listening to me and thinking, what are you doing to yourself? Why are you putting yourself through this by staying? And granted, there were all manner of reasons and tricky situations keeping me here. But for them, that must have been incredibly hard to listen to their loved one struggling like that. So I can understand the reactions for the most part, but it doesn't make them any less frustrating. People telling you should leave. No, I wanted to understand what was going on. I wanted solutions. I wanted to know, when he does this, what do I do? What's the answer? What am I meant to say? What am I meant to do? Now that I know that he's on the spectrum, I have some answers. So I've gone quiet in that regard. I've barely talked to people about what he's like, except for other women whose partners are on the spectrum, because they get it. They really get it. They understand that you want to vent. They understand that you're not being negative. They understand, for the most part, why you're staying. And they're not sitting there going, oh, husbands are like this, you know. That's just men. Men are quiet, they're withdrawn, blah, 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 you know. So now that I have my answers and I kind of know what to do, Like, oh, okay, he did that because he was overwhelmed and now he's gone to watch TV to calm down. I get it. Right. So now I know that I can react differently. But in those early days when I had no clue, that was what I was wanting from these people. I didn't want them to say, you're a doormat, sucky, bimbo, dumb person because you stay. Or you're an idiot because you stay, or you're just marrying your dad, or whatever the labels people would give me. You're trying to fix him. I wasn't trying to fix him. I was trying to fix the marriage. I was trying to understand what was going on. It's a whole difference between that and trying to fix somebody. And so, yeah, whilst I get why they're saying what they're saying, it was super annoying, super frustrating, and people just don't get it. And that's why I'm making these videos, because I want to share with the world what it's actually like being in a relationship with somebody like this. So if you are randomly a person who is neurotypical in a neurotypical marriage and your marriage is going okay, and you have a friend who comes up to you whose partner is on the spectrum, and you're thinking, what the hell? Maybe you can watch these videos and educate yourself and find out exactly what it's like in these relationships, because many of the reactions I have received over the years, understandable or not, have just been gut-wrenching and hurtful, and, you know, like if I think of the friends that I've lost because I opened up to them, that just hurts. Like, I needed support, not for you to run a mile because my life was too difficult. I needed support. I needed people to be there. I needed people to take me out, actually. That's the one thing that my friends and acquaintances have never really understood. I needed people to say, oh, let me take you out for a night. Let me get you out of that situation for a bit. Let's do something together, you know, instead of, why are you staying, and all men are like that. So if you do have a friend who's with somebody on the spectrum, just consider that. Maybe they're looking for something a little bit more than placations and you're not understanding. Anyway, over to you. Did I miss any reactions? Have you gotten different reactions? What do you think about the people who have given you those reactions? Do you have a support network? And what would support look like to you? Curious to know that one as well. Anyway, over to you. Leave a comment below, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I really do appreciate it.